Gauteng crime is becoming increasingly rampant in Gauteng. Communities in Soshanguve and surrounding areas in Pretoria are living in fear after a 5-year-old child was shot and killed during a hijacking incident over the weekend. The road spiking incidents are also rising at an alarming rate. 10 suspects were arrested earlier in the week. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi has vowed to fight crime in the province. But how exactly does they plan to do that? He now joins us in studio for that discussion. Premier, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. As I said, I also love Gauteng.
Thank you.
And you also love Gauteng, and that's the reason why we need to fight crime in the province. But I want to start with Soshanguve. What's happening there?
Well, I'm grateful that finally the Minister of Police has responded to our call to deploy all the resources that are needed in that area. It's one area that there are three criminal elements that we need to eradicate immediately. One is contract killing. There have been many high-profile people that have been killed there, from councillors, DJs, and top business people, including the taxi bosses in that particular area. And the second area, which is very worrying now, is the emergence of spiking, where the main highways around Tshwane, it can be our N12, it can be R80 and many other roads that are N4 that are passing around that area, that we are seeing a sudden increase. And third is general crime, hijacking, GBV, and many other things. So we've requested that all the resources that the SAPS has must be deployed there. And yesterday, I think the minister demonstrated that from helicopters, motor vehicles, technical team, intervention unit, so that we can arrest that situation. The good thing with Gauteng is that our geographic spread assists us to identify areas where there are some spikes of crime. I mean, your Lens, Enadale area, your Soshanguve area, and your N3 when you enter Gauteng, that is our Katleong, Vosloorus area, are areas that need special attention. But with the intervention that we have now, and the president have already given us 600 soldiers that are dealing with the Zamazamas, we really believe that we've made a proper scanning of the resources that are needed, and we've deployed them appropriately. But crime is taking a shape that I'm one person that believes in technology, I'm one person that believes in innovation, I'm one person that believes that we need to integrate all the resources that we have to fight crime. And but the intervention yesterday is heartwarming, highly welcomed. As the citizen says, they're waiting for action so that they can believe that this will happen. And from today, we'll monitor that situation.
Yeah. So you now touched on the issue around the deployment of the soldiers as well. So you agree with the city power as well, that there should be deployment of soldiers, especially to protect critical infrastructure?
I've done any emergency. I'm one person that actually is impatient. We are in emergency, and we can't be cosmetic in our approach these things. I mean, there's a soccer player, for example, that was killed for no apparent reason. There's a 5-year-old that is killed for no apparent reason. So we can't be softy and territorial to say, I don't need this, I need this, leave me alone. You need to bring all the resources that are needed. Whatever firepower that the country can possess to fight crime, we need it. And I'm on record to say, when the army came, now the intervention unit, law enforcement agencies from the SAPS, local government, ourselves as provincial government, we just have to throw everything we have as government to criminals. The encouraging thing that these criminals are not sophisticated, unlike criminals that you see in other countries, in Mexico and other. We are dealing with fools here. We are killed and harassed and murdered by fools.
You're dealing with fools, but yet they seem to be beating you at this game.
Exactly, and that's why I'm impatient. I really believe that if we can employ the resources that the state has, without being territorial, we'll be in a position to eliminate these fools.
What does it mean without being territorial?
We simply means every resource that we have as a government must be unleashed. You can't say this local government can't provide this kind of additional support, private security can't provide this support, army can't provide this support, SAPS can't provide this support. Pool everything, bring one command, flush these fools.
Where's your intelligence?
Including intelligence, that are even killing 5-year-olds. You can't dilly-dally and be softy about this particular matter. Actually, I'm impatient. I really feel that we are delaying in releasing the resources that are needed to fight crime. And if you can't fight it, you'll never attract investment. If you can't fight it, you'll never attract young people with skills that wants to reside in our province. If you can't fight it, you'll never grow as a province. And if you can't fight it, there'll be lawlessness. I mean, move around our province. People are taking down traffic lights, cables. People are taking out anything that is related to pumping either water or electricity. We can't allow that. And we just want to come and sugarcoat it and say it's lawlessness. It's not lawlessness. It's fools that are taking advantage of our kindness. It's fools that are taking advantage of the things that we need to do to develop our province. And therefore must flush them. Yeah. And we must flush them without mercy.
The wardens, or Amapanyaza as we refer to them, how much of an assistance have they been in terms of fighting crime? If you look at for instance, the proportion of the budget that you spend on Amapanyaza, sorry, what's the budget again?
Well, we are spending almost, in terms of them, in terms of their capacity, it's 300 million. In terms
300 million. So with the 300 million that is invested in that particular personnel, are we getting a return in investment? Could
have been worse. Could have been worse. As the drug lords that we have identified and removed in communities, as scrapyard people that were free doing as they wish, that we have stopped their scrapyards, as the people that have been mugging our mothers and parents when they go to railway station or taxi rank, are they still doing that? No, we've stopped it. It might be petty crimes because of the level of support that they need to have, but they have made an impact. Could have been worse. Would have children that are still being hooked to drugs. Would have mothers that their phones and they can't even fend for their own families because every morning they are marked or attacked by this criminal. So we've made an impact. It's not enough because they're still in training. They're not independent. They work under the supervision of the police and are directed by law enforcement agencies where to give additional support. And that's the element that I'm saying it makes me to be very impatient.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you have 7,000 young people that you train them appropriately, you give them the ammunition that is needed. You give them the powers that they need so that they can confront these criminals and so that they can provide the necessary support that is needed when the police are taking or when the police need additional ammunition or additional support. Would have been far. Each and every community deserves to see a policeman not far from them. Each and every community deserves to feel comfortable at night. Each and every community deserves to ensure that there is a law enforcement presence in their communities. But they don't. Because it's private security in the urban areas and in the township, people are unpoliced. Our intervention to have these wardens, you go to public events, sporting events, you see them stopping people from stealing other people's cars, ensuring that no one is marked coming to watch either sports or any other activity. That's the intervention that we've made, and I think majority of people are starting to appreciate that intervention.
How far are you with that conversation with your other counterparts in government in terms of capacitating even further these wardens? Because I think the other issue that was raised was around them carrying firearms. Would they be allowed to carry firearms at some point?
70% of them are in training for firearms. I'm glad that 70% of them have already passed that course. Because initially we could not train them using firearms because we didn't know the law that will be provided to them. But I want to contextualize this. We didn't go the wardens route immediately. We were prepared as the provincial government, like we've done before. We said to the police, where are the areas where you think you need support? They said we need additional human beings. We need additional cars. We need mobile police station. We need helicopters. And we need the capacity to ensure that we've got CCTVs to gather evidence. And all the areas, we've given them money for that. We've given them 245 cars as the provincial government to the police. And we said on human capacity, we are prepared for you to hire 25,000 new policemen and deploy them in Gauteng. We will give you the money for their salaries, for their payments, and all other things. But unfortunately, they say administratively it doesn't work that way, because the budget of the police centralized and the budget of the police can't be utilized for a certain province, need to be utilized for all South Africans. And it was within that context that we felt we should have this kind of intervention on our own, because at that particular level. But we are quite excited now that the police trained 30,000 new policemen, and we are the major beneficiaries as Gauteng, because almost 25% or so of those new policemen came to Gauteng. So we are putting all the resources that are needed to ensure that the law enforcement agencies are strong in our province.
Do you think, Premier, that we should also see, for instance, the province of, or the Western Cape is proposing this, I don't know where Gauteng stands, but let's hear your opinion on it, the devolution. Like we know, for instance, how health is a provincial competency. Should we see the same when it comes to policing?
It's short-sighted. I'm saying we're in an emergency. If you want devolution, what does it mean? Must change the constitution, must change laws. How long does it take to change laws here? Almost, take the NHI. It has taken us almost 14 years to where we are. So should we wait around that 14 years to change the laws for us to fight crime? I don't agree with the Western Cape. I really believe we need to integrate all the resources that we have. And the resources that we have, either from the army, SAPS, intervention, intelligence, local government, private security, they need to plan and strategize at the central place, and at that particular central place, all of us are doing. But what do you do now? The private security companies are doing their own things, and you can't blame them. They're private security, they're hired by private institutions. But the crime starts there and is then deposited in the public space for us either to investigate what they can investigate, and they cannot have the support that it needs to. We've got traffic cops. Every road has a traffic cop. Can't we amplify their support and the role so that they can be in a position also to play a critical role in the fight against crime? We've got soldiers. We need to deploy them where we really believe that crime is high. And we don't have to be cosmetic about it and say that we can't deploy crimes because we're either militarizing the fight against crime. Criminals are cruel, heartless. They go to houses of people and do what? Rape children, kill children. And we have to fold our arms and be cosmetic and be softy because we want to hide behind the laws and the legal things. We have to be merciless. We have to ensure that these criminals must know their time is up. And these criminals must know we've got the firepower as the state to confront them, because they know they can close a highway and attack a cash van. And we have to just do what? Film them when they're doing that particular act. Because we don't have the firepower, aerial firepower. We don't have drones to chase them. So we just need to put all the resources at our disposal and confront these criminals head on and ensure that our country is peaceful and ensure that our province is peaceful. And we can't also allow people to undermine the rule of law of our country. Having people that you don't know that are not documented in our country, in our province. We don't mind them coming to our country, but they must be documented and they must come at the right door. And those that are not coming at the right door, they must know their time is up. And we must unleash our resources to identify them and flush them out of our country. That is why Home Affairs, we really believe, must be brought in at the center of our fight against crime, so that we don't have any inch of lawlessness that is unattended, that it does not have the necessary resources to assist us.
You just touched on NHI Premier, of course. The bill will be signed today by the President. What does it mean then for the province? What does it mean for the role of the MEC once the bill is now law?
We're excited. We planned ahead as a province. We ensured that all our sites, all our hospitals are NHI compliant. It's not an easy task. We've started to move the budget in that particular area. We have partnered with one workers fund, which is a saving of workers' unions. We're in discussions to acquire almost 18 private hospitals. We've already worked around 3 that we really believe we can work them. We've entered in private partnership with some of the private hospitals so that we can give them support when NHI is brought on board. So from our side, we don't think that it takes the powers of the MEC. From our side, we don't think that is a hindrance. We were looking forward to this particular day. And we want to say to the President, it's people before profit. We want to say to our President, whether employed and unemployed, whether you are old or young, you deserve to access medical health in this particular country. And that we have been abused as a public sector, where somebody has a medical aid and want treatment for a certain disease, the medical aid runs out. Where that person goes, he comes to our private hospitals. And when the medical aid has funds, they go to the private institutions. We have been abused for quite some time. We just need to ensure that we've got the proper systems to ensure that this particular act is implemented appropriately, correctly, and that we provide the necessary quality to all our people. It's not an easy task, but it's a first step. It's a very important step to have this kind of legislation.
You touched on the issue around immigrants. Of course, the province also carrying a large burden when it comes to immigrants and the health sector as well. Your predecessor, David Makura, had suggested before that African nations that have migrants that are in the country, whether legally or whether documented or undocumented, that they should also bear some of the health-related cost for when they use public hospitals. Where do you stand as the Premier currently?
I mean, we have signed international agreements. I think I agree with him. What we need to do is to ensure that people come through the right door. If you come
But
through
should
the
those
right
countries
door,
pay?
if you come through the right door and you feel that you need assistance, I mean, there are many people that need assistance. I believe in people's first than any other thing. If people come here, I'm sick, you provide the necessary assistance and support, and you really believe that their countries can be in a position to afford to pay the amount that we have paid, we can enter into those kind of agreements. We must not impose them. We must ensure that we have necessary agreements with those particular countries. And we've started that. We've started with now. We formalize an agreement where people die here that cannot be identified. We're using a fingerprint method. If we prove where you come from, and those particular countries are giving us access to their databases, we can identify somebody who have just passed on so that we can then hand over to them. It's humane, it's a good way of having a relationship with your neighboring countries. But at the same time, I really believe where we have incurred cost, they should also come to the party and assist us.
Okay, Premier Panyaza Lesufi, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
That is the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, speaking to us about the crime and, of course, the upcoming event that will be taking place at around 2 o'clock later today, where the President will be signing the NHI bill into law that will be taking place at Union Building. So stay tuned to Channel 405 for the latest on that. We also